You already know there's a certain kind of magic that happens in a black grandma's kitchen. It ain't just cooking. It's a whole entire culture, a legacy passed down through whispers and wooden spoons, through watching and tasting and being told, "Baby, you'll understand one day." Well, today is that day, because we are counting down all 35 of the most brilliant, most practical, most mind-blowing Southern cooking tricks that black grandmas have been using for generations. These are the real ones. The ones Big Mama never wrote down because she expected you to be standing right there in that kitchen paying attention. So if you weren't there, don't worry, we got you. Let's get into it. Number 35. Salt your greens water like you mean it. When Big Mama boils collard greens, turnip greens, or mustard greens, she doesn't just add a pinch of salt. She salts that water until it tastes almost like the ocean. This draws out the bitterness from the leaves while simultaneously seasoning them from the inside out. Greens that are seasoned only at the end taste flat and one-dimensional, but greens boiled in properly salted water taste rich and full all the way through. This is chemistry working in your favor. Number 34. Season your cast iron skillet with Crisco, not olive oil. Black grandmothers have always known that Crisco vegetable shortening creates a harder, more durable, non-stick coating on cast iron than most modern oils. Olive oil has a lower smoke point and can turn rancid inside the pores of the iron. Crisco, applied in a thin layer and baked in the oven at around 375 degrees for an hour, bonds to the surface and creates a slick protective layer that gets better with every use. Your cornbread will slide right out every single time. Number 33. Add a splash of apple cider vinegar to your collard greens pot. This is one of the most important tricks in the entire Southern black cooking tradition. The vinegar does several things at once. It brightens the deep, bitter flavor of the collards. It helps break down the tough fibers in the leaves so they get tender faster, and it balances the richness of the smoked meat in the pot. Grandma usually adds about 2 tablespoons toward the end of cooking. The result is pot liquor, that dark, savory liquid at the bottom of the pot that people will literally drink straight from a cup with a piece of cornbread. Number 32. Soak your chicken in buttermilk overnight before frying. Every black grandma's fried chicken recipe starts the night before. She puts her chicken pieces in a big bowl, covers them completely with buttermilk, throws in some hot sauce, garlic powder, and onion powder, and lets it sit in the refrigerator overnight. The lactic acid in buttermilk gently breaks down the protein in the chicken, making it incredibly tender all the way to the bone. The salt draws moisture in. The fat coats the muscle fibers. By the time that chicken hits hot oil the next day, it is almost impossible to make it tough. Number 31. Use evaporated milk instead of regular milk in your mac and cheese. Black grandma does not make mac and cheese from a box. She bakes it in a deep dish with multiple cheeses, eggs, butter, and evaporated milk. The reason she chooses evaporated milk is because it has had about 60% of its water removed, which means it is richer and creamier than regular milk. It also has a slightly caramelized quality from the canning process that adds a subtle depth to the cheese sauce. Mix it with sharp cheddar, a little Velveeta for melt, some eggs for structure, and butter for richness, and you have a baked mac and cheese that nobody is leaving on their plate. Number 30. Use leftover pot liquor from your greens as a soup base or to cook your cornbread. The liquid left in the pot after your greens finish cooking is liquid gold in black Southern cooking. It has absorbed all the flavor from the smoked meat, the greens themselves, the onion, garlic, and seasonings you added. Using it as a base for bean soup or even to thin out your cornbread batter adds a complexity that you simply cannot replicate with plain water or even store-bought broth. Number 29. Put a wooden spoon across the top of a boiling pot to keep it from boiling over. Every black grandma does this. You are watching your grits bubble up toward the rim, and she calmly reaches over and lays a wooden spoon flat across the top of the pot. The spoon disrupts the surface tension of the bubbles and causes them to collapse before they can overflow. The wood also does not conduct heat, so the bubbles cool slightly when they contact the spoon. This works for pasta, grits, beans, and any pot that tends to foam up. Simple and genius. Number 28. Press your fried catfish fillets gently with a spatula for the first 60 seconds in the oil. This ensures full contact between the seasoned cornmeal coating and the hot oil surface. Any air pockets between the fish and the oil will create uneven browning and soft spots in your crust. Gentle and brief pressure solves this immediately and gives you that beautiful, uniform golden crust that defines properly fried southern catfish. After that first minute, leave it alone and let the oil do its job. Number 27. Add sugar to your cornbread only if you are from the North. This is the great debate in the Black community. Southern Black grandmas will look at you with deep disappointment if you put sugar in cornbread. Northern Black grandmas sometimes do it. The Southern tradition holds that cornbread is savory, a vehicle for a pot liquor, a side for greens and beans. Sugar makes it cake. Knowing which side of this debate your family falls on tells you a lot about where your people came from. Honor your grandmother's version. Number 26. Use chicken feet in your stock for the most gelatinous, richest broth you have ever had. Big Mama goes to the grocery store and buys the parts that other people walk past. Chicken feet are full of collagen, which converts to gelatin when you simmer them low and slow for hours. That gelatin gives your stock a body and richness that commercial broth will never have. Your stock should actually jiggle when it cools. Add onion, celery, garlic, bay leaves, and black pepper, and simmer those feet for at least 4 hours. Use this as the base for any soup, gravy, or rice dish, and watch people's eyes close when they taste it. Number 25. Toast your spices in a dry pan before adding them to dishes. Grandma does not always name this technique, but she always does it. Before she makes oxtails or smothered pork chops, she puts her dry seasonings in a dry skillet for about 30 to 45 seconds over medium heat. The heat activates the volatile oils and spices like garlic powder, paprika, cumin, and onion powder, intensifying their aroma and flavor dramatically. Just be careful not to burn them. The moment you smell that nutty, toasty fragrance, they are ready. Add them to your meat or sauce immediately. Number 24. Smother your pork chops in onions and cook them low and slow. Smothered pork chops are a cornerstone of soul food, and the secret is patience. Grandma sears her pork chops first in a hot skillet with oil until they are golden brown on both sides. She removes them, adds sliced onions to the same pan with all those browned bits, and cooks the onions down until they are silky and golden. She adds flour to make a light roux right in the pan, then adds chicken broth to make a gravy, puts the chops back in, covers everything, and cooks it on low heat for at least 45 minutes. Low and slow breaks down the connective tissue and keeps the meat from drying out. Number 23. Add a can of cream of mushroom soup to your green beans for instant depth. This is a quiet trick that shows up in church kitchens all across the South. Grandma slow cooks her green beans with smoked turkey or ham hock for hours, but she adds a can of cream of mushroom soup about 20 minutes before they are done. The soup adds body, umami, and a creamy richness without tasting like a casserole. It deepens the savory quality of the beans and makes the pot liquor almost like a sauce. Nobody knows why it works. It just does. Number 22. Cook your rice with chicken broth instead of water. Plain water gives you plain rice. Grandma uses chicken broth, a pat of butter, and sometimes a bay leaf or a pinch of garlic powder. The broth infuses the rice grains with savory flavor all the way through. When she makes rice to go under her smothered chicken or oxtails, that rice is not just a vehicle, it is part of the dish. Every grain has absorbed something delicious. This is such a simple swap that transforms the entire eating experience. Never go back to plain water. Number 21. Make a roux dark and low for your gravies. Nana knows that the color of your roux tells you the story of your gravy. For southern gravies and smothered dishes, you want a roux that has gone past blonde, past peanut butter to a deep brown like dark chocolate. This means cooking equal parts flour and fat together over medium-low heat, stirring constantly for sometimes 20 to 30 minutes. The longer you cook it, the deeper the nutty flavor. A dark roux adds incredible richness and complexity to any gravy. The trade-off is that it thickens less effectively the darker it gets, so you may need a little more. Worth it every single time. Number 20. Use smoked turkey instead of ham hock in your greens for a lighter but still deeply flavored result. This became more common in black households as communities became more health conscious while still holding on to tradition. Smoked turkey necks or smoked turkey legs add that essential smoky depth to collards, mustard greens, and turnip greens without as much saturated fat as pork. The trick is to put the smoked turkey in the pot first, cover it with water, and bring it to a boil for about 20 minutes to release all that smoky goodness into the liquid before you add your greens. That smoky broth becomes the foundation of everything. Number 19. Add a pinch of baking soda to your dried beans while soaking to make them cook faster and reduce gas. Big Mama soaks her dried pinto beans, navy beans, or black-eyed peas overnight. But she also adds a small pinch of baking soda, about a quarter teaspoon per pound of beans, to the soaking water. The slightly alkaline environment softens the outer skin of the bean and begins breaking down the complex sugars that cause digestive discomfort. Drain and rinse thoroughly before cooking. Your beans will cook faster and your family will thank you afterward in more ways than one. Number 18. Season your flour before you dredge your chicken, not after. Amateur cooks season the outside of the chicken after dredging. Grandma seasons the flour itself with salt, pepper, garlic powder, onion powder, smoked paprika, and cayenne before the chicken ever goes near it. When you dredge the buttermilk-soaked chicken through this seasoned flour, the seasoning adheres to every surface and gets locked in when it hits the hot oil. Every single bite of that fried chicken is seasoned all the way through the crust. That is the difference between good fried chicken and legendary fried chicken. Number 17. Rest your fried chicken on a wire rack, never on paper towels. This is a technique more people need to know. When hot fried chicken sits on paper towels, the bottom gets steamy and the crust goes soggy on that side. Grandma places her fried chicken on a wire rack over a sheet pan the moment it comes out of the oil. Air circulates underneath and all around the chicken, keeping the entire crust crispy while the steam escapes. Your chicken stays crunchy for longer and does not have that soft, wet bottom that ruins the whole experience. Number 16. Use hot sauce in almost everything as a background flavor, not just as a condiment. Granny keeps a bottle of Louisiana hot sauce or crystal hot sauce in her pantry, and it goes into dishes where you would never expect it. A few dashes in the mac and cheese, some in the potato salad, a little in the meatloaf mixture. She is not making things spicy. She is adding vinegar brightness and a layer of complexity that wakes up the entire dish without announcing itself. People taste it and cannot figure out what that secret depth is. Now you know. Number 15. Make your sweet potato pie filling with roasted sweet potatoes, not boiled. The difference is significant. When you boil sweet potatoes for pie, they absorb water, which dilutes the flavor and makes the filling looser. When Grandma roasts whole sweet potatoes in the oven until they are completely soft and caramelized inside, the natural sugars concentrate. The flesh is drier and more intensely sweet and nutty. The pie filling made from roasted potatoes has a deeper orange color, a richer flavor, and a better texture. She uses butter, eggs, evaporated milk, vanilla, cinnamon, nutmeg, and just enough sugar because those sweet potatoes are already doing the work. Number 14. Add a teaspoon of vanilla extract to your grits for breakfast. This sounds unusual until you taste it. Grandma makes her grits with butter, a splash of cream, salt, and then a small drop of vanilla extract when she is making them as a slightly sweet breakfast side. It does not make the grits taste like dessert. It just adds a warm, aromatic background note that elevates the whole bowl. Pair this with some scrambled eggs and crispy bacon, and you will understand why Saturday morning breakfast at Grandma's house was a religious experience. Number 13. Score your ham hock or smoked meat before adding it to your pot. Before Grandma drops her ham hock into the greens pot or the bean pot, she takes a sharp knife and scores the meat in a crosshatch pattern down to the bone. This allows the collagen, fat, and smoky flavor to release into the cooking liquid much more efficiently than if the meat went in whole. The result is a richer, smokier pot liquor and more tender, more flavorful meat that falls off the bone by the time everything is done. Number 12. Cook your black-eyed peas on New Year's Day with a coin in the pot for good luck. This is not just a trick, it is a tradition. Hopping John. The dish of black-eyed peas and rice made traditionally on New Year's Day in Black Southern households is meant to bring prosperity and good fortune. Some grandmas drop a clean coin into the pot while the peas cook. Whoever gets the coin in their bowl receives extra luck for the year. The peas themselves represent coins, the collard greens eaten alongside represent paper money, and the cornbread represents gold. This food carries history and hope in every single bite. Number 11. Use Duke's mayonnaise specifically for your potato salad. If you grew up in the Black South, you already know. Duke's is the mayonnaise of choice for a reason. It is tangier, richer, and has no added sugar compared to Hellmann's or other brands. That tang is essential in Southern black potato salad, which already has mustard, sweet relish, hard-boiled eggs, celery, and paprika. Duke's adds that creamy, sharp backbone that holds all those flavors together. Using a sweeter mayo will throw off the balance of the whole dish. Grandma keeps a jar in the fridge, and she is not sharing her opinion about substitutes politely. Number 10. Prick your sweet potatoes with a fork and microwave them for 8 minutes before baking to cut oven time in half. This is a practical grandmother wisdom move. She puts her pricked sweet potatoes in the microwave for 8 minutes, which starts the cooking process and gets the interior soft. Then she transfers them to a 400-degree oven for another 20 to 25 minutes to develop the caramelized skin and deeper roasted flavor. Total time is dramatically reduced. This is how she feeds 15 people on a Sunday without being in the kitchen from before dawn. Number 9. Let your pound cake cool completely in the pan before removing it. Pound cake is a black grandmother staple, and patience is the final ingredient. She bakes it low and slow at 325 degrees, and when it comes out of the oven, she does not touch it for at least an hour. The cake continues to set as it cools, and removing it too early causes it to crack or collapse in the center. Once completely cool, she runs a thin knife around the edges before inverting. That dense, buttery crumb is worth every minute of waiting. Number 8. Put a pan of water in the bottom of the oven when baking to keep things moist. Grandma does not know the word humidity control, but she knows the result. She places an old baking pan filled with water on the bottom rack of the oven whenever she bakes pound cakes, sweet potato pies, or yeast rolls. That water evaporates slowly during baking and adds moisture to the oven environment, preventing the exterior of baked goods from drying out or cracking before the inside is fully cooked. The result is a more even bake and a tender, moist crust. Number 7. Use yellow mustard as a binder on your ribs before applying the dry rub. Big Mama does not like her rub falling off. Before she applies her brown sugar, garlic powder, smoked paprika, onion powder, salt, and black pepper mixture to her pork ribs, she slathers the entire rack in plain yellow mustard. The mustard acts as a glue that holds every bit of the dry rub in place. Here is the part that blows people's minds. You cannot taste the mustard after cooking. The flavor cooks off completely. What remains is a beautiful bark on those ribs that is deeply seasoned and perfectly caramelized. Number 6. Cook your oxtails with a whole Scotch bonnet or habanero pepper in the pot without cutting it. This is a technique rooted in the Caribbean influence present in many Black American households, particularly in coastal southern regions and urban communities with Jamaican and West Indian family connections. Grandma drops a whole uncut Scotch bonnet pepper into her braised oxtail pot. Because the pepper is not cut, the heat stays trapped inside while the fruity floral aroma of the pepper perfumes the entire dish. The result is a subtle warmth and a complex pepper flavor without the dish being painfully spicy. Remove the whole pepper before serving. Number 5. Make your tea sweet while it is still hot, so the sugar dissolves perfectly. Sweet tea is not a recipe, it is a commitment, and Grandma makes hers correctly. She brews her tea bags in hot water, removes them without squeezing, and immediately stirs in her sugar while the tea is still scalding hot. Sugar dissolves almost completely in hot liquid. If you add sugar to cold or room temperature tea, it settles at the bottom no matter how long you stir. She then lets the sweetened tea cool before pouring it over ice. The result is uniformly sweet tea in every single sip from top to bottom. Number 4. Never wash your cast iron with soap, but do use salt to scrub it. This rule is sacred. Soap strips the seasoning that took years to build. When Grandma needs to scrub stuck food off her cast iron, she pours coarse kosher salt directly into the warm pan and uses a folded paper towel to scrub in circles. The salt is abrasive enough to lift stuck food without damaging the seasoning. Rinse with hot water only, dry on the stove over heat, and add a thin layer of oil before storing. That skillet will outlast everyone in the house. Number 3. Add a slice of bread on top of your baked goods in the container to keep them moist longer. Grandma puts a piece of white bread on top of her cookies, brownies, or cake in the storage container before sealing the lid. The baked goods draw moisture from the bread and stay soft and moist for days longer than they would otherwise. By the time you notice the bread, it has dried out completely while your treats are still perfect. This works because of the humidity exchange between the fresh bread and the baked goods. Simple, brilliant, and free. Number 2. Fry your chicken in a cast iron skillet, never a thin pan. Big Mama understood heat retention before food science could explain it to anyone. Cast iron holds and distributes heat evenly across its entire surface. A thin pan has hot spots that will burn your chicken in one area while leaving another area undercooked. Consistent heat means consistent browning, consistent crunch, and consistent doneness all the way through. Get that oil hot enough that a drop of water flicked into it dances and pops, then lay your chicken gently away from you. And finally, number 1. Knead your biscuit dough as little as possible and use frozen butter grated on a cheese grater. 2 separate grandma wisdoms combining into one ultimate biscuit strategy. Overworking biscuit dough develops too much gluten, which makes biscuits tough and chewy rather than light and layered. And frozen butter grated into the flour creates tiny pockets of fat distributed throughout the dough. When that frozen butter hits the heat of the oven, it creates steam that pushes those layers apart and creates the flaky, pull-apart texture of a perfect southern biscuit. Handle it gentle and work it fast. If your Big Mama, your Nana, your grandmother, or your granny used any of these in her kitchen, drop it in the comments right now. And if you learned something new today, share this with somebody who needs to get in that kitchen and get to work. Subscribe for more content like this, and we'll see you next time.